California cannabis has gotten a lot of things wrong over the span of its first 8 years of legal operations, all under the guise of Governor Gavin Newsom. One of the most universal sore spots has been how the State Department of Cannabis Control has handled spending, from hiring and overpaying underqualified candidates for control positions to heavy-handed agency enforcement targeting license holders instead of illicit operators, while refusing to protect the same businesses from robberies, assault, and harassment. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone involved in the industry, plant touching or not, without complaints of the DCC's spending decisions. But there had been one proposed expenditure announced last year that got the thumbs up from nearly everybody: the California Legacy Cannabis Genetics Study, a groundbreaking research initiative aimed at documenting and preserving the cultural and genetic heritage of California's cannabis legacy. The study is funded by a $2.7 million DCC grant and led by a multidisciplinary team of academics, scientists, and community leaders employing a community-based participatory research approach, CBPR, to involve stakeholders equitably. It was also the first of its kind, and that's something to be proud of, too. As part of its outreach efforts, the study is hosting a series of free public webinars through January 31st, 2025, covering topics like ethnography, oral histories, plant genetics, and intellectual property. Morningclips.com says that the sessions are aimed to engage the public, highlight the contributions of marginalized communities impacted by the cannabis criminalization, and explore the implications of the research for public policy and intellectual property rights. The project underscores importance of recognizing the efforts of communities, especially those disproportionately affected by the war on drugs, and preserving unique cannabis genetics and cultural heritage. The first research track kicks off this Thursday, November 21st at 12 noon Pacific, with ethnography and political geography led by Dr. Dominic Corva. Dr. Corva will be discussing the scope and role of ethnographic interviews in the project, and the final session is slated for the 31st on intellectual property and public policy by Janine Coleman. Each session thoroughly covers different topics of interest for weed nerds and historians alike, and I, for one, will not be missing out. Registration is free via Zoom link, and you can access that on our website, high9news.com, or you can go directly to theirs as well at legacygenetics.org. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, and happy Monday, guys. Hello.
Happy Monday.
Where'd they get the money to pay for all this, Rico?
Have you seen our licensing fees?
Did you not listen to my story, Jason?
I missed that. I'm sorry. That's why I had to ask.
It's a grant through the state.
It was all through DCC funding. That was the actual positive thing that we reported on last year about they're actually spending money on some research that we actually support this time.
Fair enough.
You know, not throwing that $11 million away into that the uniform lab testing, which worked out real well to shut down the lab shoppers, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I mean, overall, I think this. I agree with you that this is a good story. This is a good thing. I was just wondering where they found this money from. You know what I mean? Because they love to just throw all our money into the general fund. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Shout out to licensing fees, paying for
licensing
something.
fees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shout out to paying your licensing fees and then getting the email that you have till December now.
Shout out to people not paying. Shout out to people not paying licensing fees that will probably be interviewed in this research study.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and that's the part of it, right? They need to make sure that they're speaking to the right people. And I know I'm going to get my little 2 cents in as usual, repeatedly over and over again. But yeah, I think that, oh God, just please don't let him talk to Kevin Sabet.
Oh, you know, Kevin Sabet's been pretty quiet on the airwaves.
I mean, does he have anything to do with any kind of legacy operations in California?
Nobody doesn't have anything to do with cannabis operations typically, and he still speaks on them.
That's a fair point, Jenny Beth. Fair point.
Lob that one back to you, Rico.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think there's nothing pointing to him even being a part of this, you know. So okay.
Yeah, I hope not, but you know, somehow he weasels his way in. I mean, there's plenty. We have plenty of our own Kevin Sabets right here locally, right? So I mean, as long as they're speaking to the right people, they're actually speaking to operators. I think that's where a lot of these state programs go wrong, is they take guidance from people who have no idea how to operate a cannabis facility, right? And so we know what best practices are, so we can speak to that. So now they've made my compliance job having to make best practices fit their stupid fucking rules. So if we could maybe speak to some, hold on, I'm almost done, Yarrow. If we could maybe speak to some actual operators and get some actual input, it's going to be meaningful. And I don't know how you can disagree with that, but there we go. Off the shelf he comes.
She's taking you off the shelf,
I think
Yarrow.
you should spend just a little bit more time understanding what this is about. This is not technical assistance. This is not on-the-job training. This is not how to be an operator. This is really about the history of cannabis in this state and the contributions culturally, geographically, economically, and genetically that go back decades. And so while I appreciate the sentiment, it's not actually applicable to what we're talking about here, which is really about banking this history and understanding the oversized contributions that come from this region. And that's important because this world and this industry is changing at a lightning speed. And a lot of this information will be gone in a very short period of time. A lot of these operators will have been spread to the wind like dandelion fibers. And so this is really about capturing and understanding the contributions that cannabis and the cannabis industry, before it was an industry, have contributed. And so it is nothing to do with compliance and how to be an operator.
Yeah, totally hear that. But my statement was that they always speak to the wrong people. So hopefully they speak to the right people.
Right. And so short of interrupting me when you asked me not to interrupt you, this is available for anybody to listen to. And so this is being widely disseminated. And one of the values of tuning into High at 9 News and listening to the headlines that Rico chooses to cover and amplify is that this is available to everybody. And so if they speak to the right people, it will be because the right people, whomever that is and however you decide to define it, have chosen to tune in and to get some of this information. They've been speaking at UC Berkeley. They've been speaking up and down the state. They're doing this as a webinar. The idea is really to understand the rich cultural history of this state and its contributions to cannabis, and as importantly, how that can be applied to an industry moving forward.
Yeah.
This sounds to me like one of the first times I've ever heard the California bureaucracy really look at the right things in the right way. Like, this should have happened a long time ago.
Well, you know why? It's because they don't want to look at their metric reports.
Well, this doesn't have to do with that, as Yarrow was saying. This is about the history and the culture of it. And like, if you chase back, we mentioned Wayne Justman the other day. Wayne Justman and Perrones and all of the things that happened in the 90s, and then going back even to the 60s and 50s and 40s even. There's really important stuff that's been happening in California for a very long time. And the DLCC just hasn't seemed to care about how important that is, and that California really has a golden goose.
Yeah, this is the first time that they're doing it. It's a huge positive thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I think we're all trying to rally around. There's a positive thing, and they're finally spending money where it should be spent. Good news.
And this sounds like if it was properly applied, this could result in really good tourism efforts, which is something that Northern California really needs.
Agreed.
I think all of California needs it overall. But we do have a special guest joining us today. Special guest correspondent Rod Murray with the POW group, the In Pursuit of Wealth. Welcome all the way from the great country of Canada today, you guys.
Welcome, Rod.
Yes.
America's hat.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me.
Is America like Canada's jorts?
Whatever you want it to be.
Of course, Rico, you were going to say something crazy. Jeez. Rod, you have any thoughts on this?
What, sorry?
On this one we've just been talking about with this California with everything they got going on.
I haven't been following it, to be honest.
Okay. All right.
No, I haven't.
Fair.
Do you guys value cataloging and chronicling your genetics up there in Canada? Is there like a long history that's held out there by the government?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the government. Yeah, no, the government does categorize all of their genetics in Canada. Yeah, no, they definitely do that because
they catalog all of them.
Yeah, everything is cataloged because they actually are able to export to other countries in Europe, Germany, a few, a few others.
Well, some of it, right? So that's got to be something that the operator themselves do to make sure that their products are exportable. So it's not something that just is automatically done by the government.
But it's categorized. That's all I'm saying.
Cataloged.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Jenny. Yeah.
I mean, but they're also bringing in new genetics all the time. They bring in a tremendous amount of California genetics. They bring in a lot of, you know what I mean? Because our weed's better.
How do they get those California genetics, Jenny?
What do you mean? How do you get that seeds ship all over the world every day? There's a reason why all of these major seed brands also have operations that are centered in the EU.
So are we saying
seeds go everywhere?
Are we
every day.
Are we saying that seeds like Taco Bell?
Only if it's the one on Pacific Coast Highway. All right, moving along.
Fair enough.